Hi guys, how's life? I'm RuboGubo, and today we'll be reviewing the first mini scrap episode. Hi guys, how's life? Like I said, I'm RuboGubo, and today we'll be showing off the first vehicle in my new series, Mini Scrap, which is basically where I take awesome creations that I've either found on the Steam Workshop or that you've sent in, and well, I review it, and if it's a bit special, not in the bad way, then I'll figure out how it works, if it needs it. And today we'll be showing off the F150 Raptor. Very nice design, as you can see, and in general, quite a big vehicle, very tall, but otherwise very nice. Now let's get it out of the garage, shall we? So, what do I like about this vehicle? Well, very nice system. Suspension is beautifully good, even making the vehicle properly tilt, like the normal scrap mechanic suspension doesn't. Why do I say normal? This has a little bit of specialness in it, and not, again, in the bad way. So, let's first go through all the modes that this vehicle has. So let's start driving. We have one, which puts into electric engine mode, which I think is pretty cool, considering that, goes up, and also that it manages to switch between engines, something which I've attempted but never successfully done. The engine is pretty slow, clearly designed, well, as electric engines are, to have lots of torque, I think, so the ability to go up very steep slopes, but therefore they lose a lot of speed. Basically, more energy, more pushing force, but can't push as quickly, if you want to look at it like that. Now, 2 is the same thing going up, just with the normal engines, which I think would be good for places like the Badlands, if you were to do that. 3 is just the lights, which, you know what, I like the lights. Well integrated, It looks like actual lights have been put in, and not just one of those singular lights. And overall it turns out really, really well, and gives a good lighting. Very wide angled, etc. 4 just switches on the radio, which, it's a nice touch. The music here is special, but, Then we have a horn. I know. Amazing. Now anyway, I was wondering how the hell it was able to do all of this stuff. Oh, and by the way, if you do go into button 2 mode, which is just the engines and the wheels, be careful, because you might end up doing a barrel roll. And do be aware that it gets very laggy when it's on its side. I don't know why, but it does, and it gets horrendously laggy at that. Now, I wanted to see how this worked, right? And if you've been paying attention, you might have already seen it. So, I decided to have just a little look, which involved ripping it down, right? So, some people would call it destroying beautiful vehicles. I call it investigative science. Now, when we make our way back, I would like to point out that it does actually have indicators, which I think is also another nice, cool touch. But anyway, we've arrived back. Look, okay. I may have gone a bit overboard here, okay, people? But, science and everything. Now, let's just appreciate how complex this is. Now, I believe this is a design that real vehicle manufacturers, at least similar to what they use. But how does it work? Well, oh dear, that's not what I wanted to do. Let me show you. So, this button switches on electric mode. And my first question was, how the hell does it switch between engines? And this is how it does it. I removed it from this end because I was trying to figure out what it does. So this engine here, when it is in electric mode, this hook is up. But what did it do, I was wondering. So let me demonstrate. Nope. Yeah, let's keep it on actually. So when it is on, this hook comes down, locking this area so that it can't be turned by that rivet. By the way, these curved pieces aren't attached to the wheel. Now this curved this rivet there is connected to the normal engines, and that's what gives it its normal turning speed. But when it's in electric mode like it is now, the engines are prevented from turning, and this is perfectly fine. This is something that they've been designed to do. Not in this use case, but it's something they can do. Electric engines, however, this leaves the electric engine to be the only one able to turn, meaning that you can lock the normal engine, which is still used regardless because it's connected up straight to the seat, and instead only use the electric engine, which is connected up via a switch and is also the seat. And there's a reason I believe that there are 2 engines for 4 wheels. So that's how they ended up switching between the engines. By the way, the person who made this, absolute legend, is on the screen right now. Anyway, by the way, follow him, 5-year community master. Very good. 5 years of service, sorry. How does the suspension work, you may ask? And I was a bit puzzled about this for a bit, but then I figured it out. I'm just hoping I can explain it to you easily. By the way, isn't it weird how it glitches? Anyway, I think that's just for space purposes. So, when you flick this switch and this piston expands, this forces these 2 parts apart, pushing this part down, which in turn compresses the spring. As you can see, the spring, when it goes down, the spring is compressed down. Now, when it is in its compressed state, which is that the vehicle is still level, it does not want to be compressed, so it pushes down on this wheel area, but the wheels can't go down. So by pushing up, by pushing down on the wheel can't go down, so it goes up. And because the spring is powerful enough to lift this entire vehicle, it pushes the entire vehicle up, meaning that, well, it goes up, and you have this beautiful suspension. And these poles here are really just there to help make sure it doesn't spaz out, which I'm sure it has done before. Next, I was interested in why it had such a fancy turning mechanism. At first I thought, and I'll show you how the turning mechanism works in a second, it's just there so that when it goes along here, it just hits the sensor and activates the indicator lights, which I mentioned earlier. But it has another use. Let me demonstrate. So, when you're turning, you may notice that the wheels are exactly on the spot. And as you can, I'm showing you now, but I'll explain it again later. When it turns, all the other parts turn instead of the wheel itself physically turning. Let me demonstrate with my lovely little hammer here. So, normally, when you just have the hinge and not this sticking outy part, the pivot point is here, meaning that this tyre has this range, and it moves from the middle to over here or over here. And in most vehicles that is not a terrible design, and it's not really a problem. But in some vehicles, or if you're going for fanciness, which this guy clearly was, you end up trying to put the pivot point here. And you do that by, instead of making the tyre go like this, you make the rest of the vehicle go like this. Now obviously making the entire vehicle do like that is a bad idea. So instead, we just make this sub-turn like this, meaning that the vehicle can stay the direction it's facing, the wheel can stay where it's supposed to be, exactly on its spot, but this, but it's still, well, yeah, it still gets to stay on the spot. These bar things here just basically move to here, meaning that this moves, that the hinges move like this instead of the wheels doing so. So, I hope you've understood that. Like I said, it's a bit difficult to explain, but I hope that was useful. Now, I was wondering, that was pretty much all of there was. By the way, piston or suspension controller here, I've never actually experimented with what happens if you make it more than one. I'm gonna do that now. Oh dear, that doesn't sound good. I'm assuming nothing too interesting. Oh, that was at the back. Hold on, guys. Don't worry, I will fulfill your satisfaction. There we go. Now we should be able to see. Oh. Yeah, okay. So this is my example, but in this case, it can't go any further down. So instead the spring stays compressed. But if the spring if these bars weren't here, this would force the spring would expand upwards, pushing this entire vehicle up. I hope that's helped clarify that a little bit. Let's switch that off by just doing that and that. And let's move on to the back. Now, I assumed that the back was pretty similar to the front, and it is, but with only a few modifications. There's the piston controller that you can see here. Again, only with 2 because I cut it in half, as you can see. But in exact, it's pretty much the same system, but adjusted for the back. Which, you know, good on you that you did it on both sides. Sort of had to though. Also, do not enter. Lovely lease of the sides. Now, I want to judge these vehicles because it's too boring just reviewing them. So, I've decided to go for 2 categories. One is looks, and the other, very important, is technicality. Oh dear, my screen's starting to glitch. Oh dear. Right, hold on. Okay, so, sorry for that. Like I said, there will be 2 categories. One will be for engineering, so, or technicality as you can put it. So how fancy they've made it. In this case, pretty fancy with the suspension. And also for looks, so how accurate it is, which in this case is also pretty decent. Also, glitched pieces will not be penalized. They might be, but, you know, if it's just for looks, I'll let it go. So anyway, let's judge it with looks, seeing as we're here. This vehicle has used glitching to a minimal amount, this being the only proper sign of glitching, which frustrates me because this guy made such a good job and then had to mess it up here. Anyway, apart from that, very nice attempt at the logo, far better than what I could do. Nice Raptor sign at the back, as well as all nice embedding of the lights. I very much like how he's done the exhaust. You can see that used a piston to make it glitch out into thinking that it needs to continuously spew coffee steam. Yes, that is a coffee cup. Now, after that, we have technicality, and I mean, let's move over here for now. So technicality, pretty good technicality to be honest. Very, very, very nice. Very fancy suspension is the main thing, along with quite nicely integrated turning. These being the main factors here. Apart from this, I would say, you know, not too special. I mean, this deserves a very high mark, but I think it kind of has to lose out on some marks, just on the fact that, for example, the doors don't work, which, I mean, is something that would have been so incredibly easy to implement. And, I mean, it might be something to do with the glitched pieces, but come on, dude, you can do a bit better. Otherwise, it also has a nice, you know, use some technicality to add some beauty, and also this does look actually pretty cool, especially when it's not been stripped down as much as I have, because it's a bit more solid. Very glitchy on the inside though, you know, it was mainly the outside that he was worried about, not the inside. So, yeah. Therefore, for technicality, because he has the suspension system, although he does lack basic things like doors, I think I'm going to give him an 8. Because very fancy suspension, honestly, this is probably going to be one of the better ones I've seen, because it incorporates so many features. However, in terms of looks, I mean, I will also give it, again, an 8, because 10 would be ultra realistic, 9 would be, you know, no glitches, well, no glitchy segments visible. It is a little bit, sadly, due to this area, which I know is very difficult to hide, you know, that's why, you know, it's so hard it's going to be so hard to get a 9. Otherwise, I don't want to penalise him too much for glitches, so, you know, not going to be a 7. But yes, definitely 8. Mainly just because of how detailed it is. I mean, they've got the Ford logo, and I keep saying it's only one person. Lights have been nicely embedded. Honestly, although I don't like glitches, it's been executed so incredibly well here. So anyway, guys, what do you think of this decision? So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. Do you agree with what I've said or disagree? Say it in the comments below. Join the RuboGubo Discord channel. You know, very easy, 3 or 5 clicks. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'm RuboGubo, and I'm out. See you later.